Joining us on the show is the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Adewole Adebayo. He will be speaking on his reasons and why Nigerians should vote for him as the next president. He'll also be showing us his manifesto today, probably based on the questions that we are going to be asking him. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
So, like I said at the beginning, we have seen quite a number of people coming out to vie for either presidency or for governorship, and they all say they can solve Nigeria's problems. So let me start by asking you the very first question. What is your reason for wanting this position? What is that problem you have seen that you want to solve if you get the opportunity?
Well, there are two things. There are the obvious. There are the aspirational ones. The obvious that the poverty is too high. There's nobody who can, you see poverty and squalor in front of you. You also see insecurity, both psychologically and physically. People don't feel secure about anything. And I thought to myself, how can you be a country in which, if you look at when I was born, usually when I approach my birthday, I usually do research about what happened. And if you read the newspaper on the day you were born, you will see that the problems mentioned in the newspaper of that day, the problems are still around. And that it means that if you're not careful, if you go away from this earth, it's as if you have come for nothing. You've not made any contribution. So when I became 50 years old, I just thought to myself, okay, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Will I continue to better my own life? I've solved my problem many years ago. So what am I going to now do? What will I be doing on my 60th birthday, 70th birthday? Will I have a country in which, as my life is getting better, that of the country is getting worse? So I don't want to live a life of contradiction. So I thought that the best thing to do is to devote the rest of one's life to public service. And in public service, I've done many things in the past. And I've discovered that if you don't have the head right, if you look at all the people who have been ministers in this country, there's no country that has been that lucky to have this number of intelligent people serving. At the end of the day, whatever problem they came to try to solve, the problem will defeat them. And we're able to trace it to the fact that the leadership, and we've written our constitution in a particular way. I don't know the wisdom behind it, but we've written our constitution where the opposite of what the British have done. The British always believed that one person cannot be so talented to be able to solve the problem of a country. So they decided to do a cabinetary system. So they would just elect a prime minister as what we call primus inter pares, first among equals. But if the prime minister is not behaving well, the ministers can meet and remove him, put another person. But in Nigeria, we follow the Americans, we vest all our power in one person. And if you get that one person wrong, you got everything wrong. There's nothing you can do. So that is what I thought, okay, you know what, go to that office, be there, execute that office. And that office is very important because it has 3 offices combined into one. People just assume when you are called president of Nigeria, it's not a natural office, it's an artificial office. It's a construct. Because that person is head of state. That person is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. That person is also the chief executive. In many countries, they don't do it that way. In England, for example, you will see that the queen, or the king now, is the head of state. Then they have the prime minister, and then in some other countries, the commander-in-chief powers are vested in another person. But here, it's combined. So you must get out of his right. And that is why, if you want to be meaningful at the national level, you have to ensure that either you go and become the president, or you find somebody around you whom you have confidence in, and you can follow him to become president. But if you're just going to say you have ideas, and you just follow a stranger, you'll just be wasting your time.
I just love that you took us here, because my next question is going to be, what are your antecedents? What is your track record? What are the things that you have done so far, accomplishments that you have achieved so far, that gives you the confidence that you're ready to take on this
gargantuan
this
enormous
responsibility that's Nigeria?
First, I've done many things in the private sector. I've been a lawyer. I've practiced law in Nigeria. I've practiced overseas. I've managed projects. I have established institutions. I've employed people. What I usually do as an employer of labor and as a manager of resources is that I look at the job description. It is the job description that will tell you whether you can do the job or not. I want to look at the job description of the president. If I'm not qualified to do it, then nobody is qualified to do it because nobody can say he has done it before. Even those who have held that office before, they haven't performed the function. They've only acquired the status. Because what the president needs to do is that he has to be a head of state. He has to be someone that inspires the nation. That is, anywhere you are in Nigeria, you feel like, well, if all fails, I can always go to this leader. He's going to listen to me. When it comes to the commander-in-chief function, the person has to understand contemporary security. He has to understand how to manage intelligence. He has to understand how to motivate the armed forces and ensure that they have patriotism and they use the powers that they have to protect the country. I haven't seen anybody who can say he has done that successfully. And thirdly, the person has to be a good manager of resources, has to have certain competencies, because the modern times is not for you to reign. You must have certain competencies. And each of the presidents that has been there, at least I can say since 1999, I've had to be with them, talk with them, interact with them, consult with them, and I've seen that I know what is missing. And what is missing is just to have that.
Likely the competences.
I think you can see the evidence without even indicting anyone. The evidence is there. If a person whose job is to make tea cannot get the water to be hot, automatically that person cannot make tea. So the evidence is there that with the enormous resources that the country has, the kind of challenges that the country is having shows that the job is not being done. And it is not for lack of experience. It's just that people are experienced in failure. They are experienced in bad things. And that is why the theory of what is your experience was what we did in 1999. We went back to 1979 to get the person who was ruling in 1976 to come back in 1999. And in 2015, people went back to the person who was ruling us in 1984. So why? Because the country assumed that if you have been there before, you have learned from your mistakes. You will not make new ones. But what management has taught us is that no, people fall into a pattern. So in a country where things are working, you go back to those who are experienced in the past so that you can keep the system working. In a system that is not working, you avoid those, you look for a change. Okay, so you cannot say you are looking for a change, you keep going back to the past. So that's
Let's get more questions for you, sir.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to go? There are 3 or 4 main parties that people are hearing about and presidential candidates that we're hearing about. And for instance, the Labour Party, they have been accused of not having structures and they have gained serious popularity. But even with that popularity, they are still saying they don't have structures. Which structure will your own party have now? Because if that party that is gaining such popularity is being accused of not having structures, I'm wondering, I really haven't heard much about your party. What structures would you have in place?
Okay, you see, there are 2 ways to look at the argument. One is that people we're a country of loose words. So even if I use the word structure or restructuring or something, our words don't mean the same thing. We don't have a standard lexicon for Nigerian English. So, for example,
interesting.
That's very for example, the legal structure that a party should have is that a party should be present in every polling unit. We have 176,108 of them. A party should be present in every ward. We have 8,803 of them. A party must be present in each local government. We have 774 local governments. A party must be present in 36 states and FCT. A party must have 6 zones, and then it must have a national secretariat. So if a party is able to fulfill all of that, has its membership, they are registered with INEC with their name and photo and everything, and they are doing activities at these levels, then you could say that they have a structure. Like we have our national convention, we had 1,708 delegates from all over the country. Our delegates were twice the population of the delegates of Labour APC, twice the population of the delegates of PDP. Of course, Labour, they just sat in one hotel in Asaba, and 80 people just chose their candidates. But that's probably they had a problem with their own. So, and we were at the International Conference Center. It was covered by the press. So you cannot say that, and then we have governorship candidates in all the states. We have senatorial candidates, we have Senate, House of Representative candidates, House of Assembly, and they are all campaigning, and they are all being shown occasionally in the press campaigning. So that's one way to look at it, that the structure is there. But the way people look at the structure, if I have done some approximation of their thinking, they don't clearly say their reasons, but they will count how many governors defected to your side, how many senators defected to your side. For example, we have Senate members of SDP who are serving National Assembly. I spoke with Akashiki from Nasarawa. He's a serving senator. He's from my state. He's from my party. We have many House of Reps members serving. But also, we have to also understand that...
Like how many?
We have quite like a dozen of them like that. And we also understand that there's not much investment in the media. So the media is not present in the whole country. Because it's not a... I'm a media owner, and I know it's not a high profit center. So you don't, and the public is not supporting the media. So it's not like BBC that everybody is supporting. So if you look at it, can you ask a TV station to have a correspondent in every local government? So it's difficult. So what it means is that if you buy airtime and they are showing you live in one rally, and they can say, oh, you got a lot of people. But how many people can be in a stadium? So, but they don't look at it that way. So we are a well-experienced party. Our party has been in power since, has been existence since December 1, 1989. Wow. That's the same party that Abiola ran on. Yeah. Wow. So we know how to win elections. Okay. For example, in Niger State is the most recent election held. We won councillorship, we won, even though it's run by the state, which is APC state, we still won local government chairmanship. And many of the parties that they say they are front runners, they didn't even win a single councillor.
I like what you said, sir. You know how to win a party election. But we'll take a short break. When we come back, we continue with the questioning.
Thank you.
Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Welcome back. We're still speaking with the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, and Nima had a question.
I had a question. So, you know, so when people finally get to the office of the president and we're talking to Nigerians, you start to hear about the complexities of the country. President Buhari did the same. President Jonathan did the same. They said when they are aspiring for offices, they have this green grass picture of how they can change our lives with a magic wand. Everything overnight will just be better for us as Nigerians. So we rush. We vote them in, and when they come in, they now start to tell us, it's not easy to govern this country. Nigeria has so many complexities. Which ones do you foresee, now that you have not gotten to office, which complexities, which do you foresee that, you think it can be a hindrance or an impediment to a successful, immediate change of our status as Nigerians to good if you become president?
Nigeria's problem is not the complexity, because a leader is not supposed to be a simpleton. It's supposed to be able to manage complex situations. Nigeria's problem is complications, not complexity.
It's a difference.
Yes. The complication is that when the consensus that leads to you going to power is contradictory. You know, I think it was Fela, who was our philosopher, who told us this party government. So when you are, for example, 2015, many of you were jumping up and down. The people who the president said he was going to go and remove corrupt people, I'm just using historical reference, I'm going to remove corrupt people. The corrupt people are the ones funding him.
Yep.
Yes, because if you want to remove corrupt people, you are not going to be hiring jets, big jumbo jets, carrying all over the place. You're not going to have serving governors who have criminal cases in court, being by your right. It was almost like that picture you find on Christmas Day, a thief by the right and a thief by the left. So when you now have that, now you want to remove subsidy, fraud. those who are making money from subsidy are the ones sponsoring your election. So you are struggling with this. So there are entrenched interests. You don't change the government. You just change the head and bring another person. So these people who were collecting all this fraud money under Obasanjo, they are the same people who,
Like the cabal.
who continue under Jonathan, under Adewole, under Jonathan. They are the same people telling Buhari what dress to wear, what to say, and what to do. So there is nothing new there. The presidency is a clean slate. When you elect the president, you elect the president and the vice. That's all. Those are the people legitimately allowed to go into the State House. Every other person is supposed to come by their invitation. But what happens is that it's a recruitment agency. So when the tenure of one government is going to an end, then they profile people around. They eliminate the intelligent ones, the committed ones. And then they start collaboration. It's a collaboration within the elite media, people in the banking sector who think that banks can be making money while the country is having no productivity. Then the political class that don't care about party or anything. So they come together and then narrow it down. So it doesn't matter whether you are discussing the best issues about the country, how the country is, they'll just shut you out and keep saying, oh, front runner, front runner. So they have, and they're looking for the weakest link. So they will always give you the president with the least intelligence.
How would you solve those complications?
This is how you solve it now. One, don't take their campaign money.
Okay.
Run a modest campaign so that when you get into power, you don't have to struggle to say, I don't belong to somebody, I don't belong to nobody. You already show it at the beginning by making sure that you don't take their money.
But how do you win if you don't let them
Thank you.
support
That's
you?
the question I just wanted to ask you.
There are enough good people in Nigeria to make you win. If you are committed to that. People are always in a hurry. You must let people first recognize what you are trying to come and do. You want to make sure that people who are in your structure believe in what you are doing. Remember that there are two types of victory. There's a victory for the politician. That one happens on election day. The victory for the people only happens when the goodies of government are delivered. So for us now, we have to look into that to make sure that you don't have that complication. So we are talking to everybody, but we are not having a warm embrace of those who are doing something wrong. If I met a lot of people who are making money out of this subsidy, who are making money from prolongation of the so-called war on terror, which they don't do anything about. Well, those who are conniving with foreign people to come and steal our oil, and we're talking to them, we're saying, look, you will still be a billionaire, but remove the criminal element in your life because it's causing, the country will collapse under everybody. So we're talking. It's the same challenge all over the world. The same reason why Kennedy got a bullet in the head. So you must stand for something if you want to lead your people. Otherwise, go into your private life and enjoy it. But if you want to be in leadership, you must be a leader. You must also be a leader of those who are making all this money. You cannot be a tool for them. And you keep struggling. And it's a generational struggle. But there must be a kind of dialectics in a country where there are those who want to do what is right. You cannot compromise everybody. And you cannot say, well, let me get there. If you get there, you hang a picture on the wall. That's all you achieve. The country gets worse. So you go and visit former head of state, former president, there's no road to their house. You are sitting at their house, you are greeting them, power is getting cut. So what have you gained? When they are ill, even in their 70s, 80s, you have to be flown abroad for treatment, something they should do in the nearest local hospital next door. So they were talking along that line to say, well, this is not sustainable. You are stealing 80% of Nigerian crude. I went to Holland the other time. I see where the tank farm, where they are stealing Nigerian crude. The Dutch people are very well to do. They can pay for the oil, but they are stealing it. Okay, sir. The Swiss, they are stealing our oil. They can pay for it.
So, call before I come to Nima. Yeah. Richard from Enugu. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning to your guests. Fantastic conversation, and I'm liking everything I'm hearing this morning. So, two questions. Number one, for your guest, if you are elected president, we have a huge debt profile now. How will you resolve that debt? What is the? How are you going to resolve? As in, either are you going to how do you intend to pay it off, or I don't know what you want, what your idea or what your plan for that is. Then second question, and lastly, should you not win, in case you don't win, because you sound like a very intelligent person, will you be willing to play a part in the government that wins if you are invited on board. Thank you. Because we need people like you to be in government.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amazing question, Richard.
Okay, briefly. One, the debt profile I've discussed about it. Let me just tell you. Most of the debt thing, it's just actually not serious. The problem in Nigeria is not the debt. The problem in Nigeria is the wastage. Majority of the revenue is not captured. For example, if you put out, like this year, they did a budget of 20 trillion, which is nonsensical for 200 million people. It doesn't make sense per capita. But it's because majority of government revenue doesn't reach the government. So if you are losing $4 billion on average, because they are stealing your crude, that's money that's supposed to come. So you have a 10 trillion deficit, so why should you have it? Overflight money is being shared by the aviation minister and his friends. Companies are supposed to pay taxes, are not paying taxes. So in a country that has a 20 trillion budget this year, in reality, it's about 17.5, but they say it's 20. Let's all agree it's 20. Now, they are 10.5 is debt. But the waivers that they signed for their friends, who are about 11 or 12 people, is 16 trillion.
Yeah.
So if you sign 16 trillion, and then they will not lie and say, they are doing Osho, their proper way, they are doing this way. So they are not capturing revenue. So when we come in, we'll capture revenue, you realize that the debt is not that difficult.
Sorted.
Yes, very easily. Secondly, serving in government is if they want to be a government. If you cannot join a looting gang, you just ruin yourself for nothing.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is to see who wins. Does he want to run a government? So you can go in there, maybe 3 days, you resign. When you discover the first crime they want to commit, you say, I'm done. You leave them. But if they are a serious government, even before now, there's no government that cannot say, I've not tried to help them. I've been helping them, talking to them. I've met every president. So when I discover that you don't have the courage to take a decision, I leave you. So the problem is not that, Nigerian problem is not that complex. The complication in how we recruit leadership, the complication is not because it's about doing favors. This person is finance minister, doesn't know how to do simple arithmetic. It's because the person who gave you the largest amount of money has been given that estate to nominate somebody. Somebody is defense minister. He was even sacked from the services. He doesn't do well. So you use these positions that are supposed to use to protect the asset and the people to compensate those who put you there. And most of the story, that's why you see when they discuss, they say, I help him. I help him.
That's my person.
That's how they do it. So the government is not like that. Government, you manage resources.
Sir,
you get
like putting me as the finance minister. Which arithmetic? That's the end of the... We will not know where the money is missing from.
My brother has a son. You can't eat with corruption, chop with corruption, then corruption will help you get there, and then you decide
that
to leave corruption.
You can't leave corruption. You can't fight corruption. You are inside the corruption.
You are corruption.
The conversation is getting more interesting. When we come back, we continue. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still taking conversations and questions.
Yes, I was going to ask, seeing these complications you have talked about now and seeing how we made sure that these complications will continue to exist. Because you just put clarity to President Buhari's inaugural speech of I belong to no one, I belong to everyone statement.
I don't.
Don't mind my bit. With the National Assembly at your watch, and every influence that they do, the way they sit on approvals, the way they can frustrate a laudable idea if you have one as a president, how do you plan to break in these complex complications that you talk about? How do you plan to successfully do it in this kind of democracy that we run?
If the National Assembly will sit on my proposals and call me to question, that's a good thing. That's what they are there for. You will see how Biden is struggling with the Republicans, Obama's struggle with the Republicans. That's a process that works. What I don't like is the collusion, where, for example, you write a budget for the Nigerian people. That budget will never be funded. You've already shared all the money. So you have Navy not funded, but friends of people in government are now contractors to the Navy. So NNPC doesn't work. But most of its assets is managed by people in government. So you are trying to privatize a public institution. You sell all our assets. So those are things that are the complications. But the National Assembly, we are both working for the people. If I propose a 200-kilometer road for 10 billion, and they say, no, it's too high, we'll debate it. People will see. that, oh, this person is right, this one is right or wrong. They are doing their job because it's supposed to be check and balances. The complication in Nigeria is that the entire National Assembly may be sponsored by about 12 businessmen.
Thank you.
So they're just there, they don't even meet, so they don't do the function.
What would you do? Because this already exists.
What we will do is this.
But before you take this question, we have a caller, Mrs. Ladiji from Jos. Good morning, Mrs. Ladiji.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, lady.
Good morning.
Good morning to your guest. Please, hello.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yes. Good morning, no. The question I will ask your guest is, this very large governance and wasteful governance with the fast allowances that they don't ever need to be done. What are you going to do about it if you become the president? Because we are wasting so much money on governance and it's not necessary. Please, just tell us, as your, maybe you want to win our vote. Let us know what you can do because we need to cut down on this. This is the biggest waste in Nigeria. It is the biggest waste. If everything can calm down, I think.
Three things we can do. One, we need to know the difference between cost of governance and cost of corruption. There are a lot of governance spaces in Nigeria. So what we call cost of governance is actually cost of corruption. Cost of governance would be, for example, if we are spending too much money on paid policemen, if they are overpaid. If we are spending too much money on giving food to people who are earning money. In England, they talk about it all the time. Should we spend so much money to feed the poor and all that? That's cost of governance. Ours is cost of corruption. And the cost of corruption is in two ways. One, the allowances and all this they are collecting, they don't deserve them. But that's not the corruption. The real corruption is that even the senators are contractors. So many of the projects that they approve in the budget, they are the ones to follow it. They collect money for inviting people to appear before them. If you don't pay them, they embarrass you. If you pay them, they bury the file. Wow. And they say, switch off the mic. So things like that. So there are a lot of costs. But the leadership, you have to have a president who has nothing to hide. And you have to have a president who is conscious of the entire picture of what's going on. The least powerful person in government today is the president. So it's just like a prisoner in a gilded cage. So you need to have a leader who is able to do that. There are people who work in the State House today who have been there since 1999. We change party here and there, they are there because they are representing entrenched interests. So the Nigerian people have to decide. You have to take a risk. You have to say, what do you have to lose? You have to do something radical. And the easiest way for you to say, anybody who has been there before, you know what? I don't like what the outcome. Just go away. Let's start afresh. After all, we have been using the people who say they are experienced, we're experiencing the same repetition. Anybody who has been in government before, just leave them.
Okay.
Start
Let's
afresh.
quickly take another call from Just. Oh, we lost the call. Miriam, your question.
Okay. So I have this question, which is almost like a follow-up question to the one Yeni asked you. And for me, it's that what really makes a party? Is it a personality, as we've seen so far with Labour Party? It was almost, a really quiet, small party. And all of a sudden, we have their flag bearer and it's a big and that party has now become one of the major oppositions or big contender in the coming elections. Then we have an SDP. Many of us knew SDP. We all grew up on that party, the Abiola party. And all of a sudden, it just seems that we hear very little of that party. So yes, it's established, it may have structure, but it's not front-facing, it's not in our faces. What really makes a political party?
What makes a political party is a vision of the country. That people come together, they have a vision of the country. Nigeria should be like this, you attain this level of, we must eradicate poverty, we must build a social structure, we must build justice. So these ideas bring us together. That's what makes a political party. What you are having now in the other party you mentioned is not a political party, it's a campaign organization. In which case, if I go and get King Sunny Ade to run for governor of Ondo State, and I get Davido to run for governor of Osun State, and I get Ali Baba to run for president, so automatically these names are already made. And I will make splash everywhere. At the end of the day, you may not do as well as you should because the nitty-gritty of politics is that there are places across the country, about 5,500 voting blocks in the country, and they are in silos. And they vote according to local issues. So you can't go to Genya, where they have not seen road for a long time. When I was in Mubi, they were not talking about these issues. They were talking about Boko Haram occupy this palace, where you are sitting down, you are eating together. So we don't want it to happen. They are talking. They are more interested in my relationship with Cameroon because they get water from Cameroon, radio from Cameroon, than what's happening in Lagos. So you have to go around the country and understand. So if you are in the river, I went to Focados the other time, they don't know that Nigeria exists. In Focados, they know about Angola, other countries around them, Sao Tome and Principe. So you need to understand that this is how the country is. So for us as a political party, it's the idea. And that idea, if it's an escape from the party into the mind of the people, people will follow that idea. And you have to be patient. You have to be consistent.
Let me take a call, another call. Bob from Jos. Good morning, Bob.
How are you, my sister?
I'm fine, sir.
Morning to you and your co-colleagues there, and especially your guest.
Okay, give us your question, sir.
It's unfortunate people have been burning my credit, knowing too well that money is difficult to come back.
We're sorry, sir.
We're sorry.
So what's your question? Hello, Bob. Oh, he's gone. So sorry.
So I asked
Maybe his credit finished.
Yes.
Maybe.
Well, let's take a short break. When we come back, you ask your question. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Nima had a
So
very short
earlier you were going to give me the clear solutions to how to face a National Assembly. The examples that you gave already exist within our National Assembly. What exactly would you do if those complications face you?
You talk to the Nigerian people. The government, so far, their culture is to run away from the people. But there is no Nigerian who will see that my welfare is in the budget. How to escape poverty is in the budget. The money for educating my children is in the budget. They will talk to their representative and hold them to account. The problem in Nigeria is not in the government. It's not between right and wrong. It's between two wrong people wasting your time fighting over sharing formula. That's why the people are disengaged from it. But when the message is clear, the way to deal with legislators is to go back to the constituency where they come from, to say that the road here that's full of pothole is in this budget, and this gentleman will not sign it because he has personal interest. Yes. So every democracy faces
you call it out.
You call it out, and when you are clean yourself, the first thing they do for you, to you when you're in government, is to compromise you from day one. Even now, as we are campaigning, they're already covering your face with tinted glass and all of that, so they don't want you to know what is going on. So once you can break through that, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So we've had issues of insecurity, and people have proposed that we adopt state policing.
Yes.
Do you think that will work for us, or would you want
There are two solutions to it.
Okay.
One is that structurally, every legislative body, every level of government that can make a law should have a way to enforce that law. So you cannot say, a local government cannot say, don't throw refuse here. You ought to have local government police limited to enforcing those laws on sanitation and all of that. Most of our criminal offenses are state offenses. Murder, arson, manslaughter, robbery, they're all state offenses. So the state should have the police to manage to enforce their laws. Then the federal offenses, treason and all those things, that should manage at the federal level. So that's structural level. But the problem facing us is that in government, the people in government don't want the police to work. Because if the police, like I said in the debate, if the police works, majority of those in government will be in jail. So there is a decision in the government that the police is meant to harass the people. The police is not to enforce the law. Because when you enforce the law, it means that the president himself has to now start to think of going to jail or not going to jail. Immediately he finishes. So you can be in the cabinet now and the police will come and arrest the Minister of Finance. Yes, so they don't want that to work. They just want police to salute them and help them chase people.
And carry
you are forgetting one.
Carry umbrella.
To carry their bag.
Yeah, carry their bag.
Yeah, I forgot that one.
Exactly. So then there's no relationship between the police leadership and the police on the road. So you can go and ask any commissioner of police now, where are your men in Lagos? He won't answer you. He doesn't know how they feed, how they fuel their car to get there. That's the problem. And secondly, we need to understand that insecurity is a government program. Nobody can compete with government. If the government doesn't like your face, even if you are in Kenya, they will go and fetch you and bring you here. But if they want to continue to make money from defense and all of that, they started during the Civil War to make money from create a civilian class that helps people in government to keep money. So they will just perpetuate every war. So even if we defeat Boko Haram, They will find something else to create. So you must have a government that wants to serve the people, and that is an international.
So,
so I have a...
you have a call?
Yeah, I have a
Final
question.
question.
I know, I don't ask questions. You have been asking questions since now.
Go ahead.
What's wrong with you?
Final question.
The four or three, there are three major parties.
Yes.
Out of those three major parties, which one do you think can solve our problem?
I see them as branches of one party. They are the same. It's a three-bedroom flat. It's one house. So when they annoy you in this room, maybe the air conditioner is not working. Move to the other room. So they're just one people. That's why you see them. They are the same people. The chairman of this one was once the opponent here. So they don't even look at their faces at all. They're just there to distract you. That's why they have comedians and people as their spokesperson. They abuse each other. They talk about your. They want to make sure that they clock down, so that you can't ask questions like, what happened to our money? I knew you before you became a governor. How come you are richer than the state now? Yeah, how come I don't have electricity in my house? How come, do you understand how many children are out of school? Why do I want 33 million people out of poverty? Why else? They don't want to talk about it, they just want to clown around and play around. And so even when they come on the show, people ask them about, oh, this person insulted you. What's your answer to that one? And they occupy the time. They are clocking you down and they are saving money to buy vote on the last day. So it is only when issues are clear to the people that they will say, no, I cannot sell my destiny. I won't. So, but they don't want that issue to be clear. So they even buy excessive airtime so that one governor can be insulting the former somebody, they will insult each other back. So the time is gone. People are exhausted.
Thank you so much.
That's the problem that we are facing in our democracy.
Adewole Adebayo. It's been an enlightening conversation.
I hope you come again.
Certainly, it'll be a pleasure. God bless Nigeria.
It's been an enlightening conversation, very intelligent conversation. A lot of people are happy with what they have heard from you. You seem very intelligent and in grasp of and in tune also of what is happening in Nigeria and how we can solve Nigeria's problems. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
For your campaign, and I hope that, the Almighty does his thing. And that's all we can do.
We need a savior.
Yeah.
Yes, God will help us.
When we come back,
We will allow him.
on to the women we love. Stay with us.